Hello YouTube, I am back with another sensor spotlight. Today we're going to be taking a look at the keyboard sensor. So what does a keyboard sensor do? The keyboard sensor will turn positive and trigger the controller whenever a key or a set of keys is pressed. Now it can do a few more things, such as it can log all of the keys that have been pressed and send them to a property, and it also has some more useful things in Python. So for our example today, I have some basic character movement here. And all this is a couple of keyboard sensors with a key selected, and those are just wired straight through to some different character motion actuators. So whenever I play the game, I am able to move my character forward, backwards, left and right, and even jump right off the edge. So this is a really simple setup, and it works really well. So now we're going to take a look at the sensor itself. Okay, so here we are looking at the sensor, and as you can see, it does have all of the same buttons as the Always sensor does. So if you haven't seen that tutorial, go and check it out so that you know what these do. But in addition to those buttons, we also have this pretty large set of different options down here below. So first, we have key, and this is pretty self-explanatory. This is the key that you need to press in order to set the sensor to positive and trigger the attached controllers. So for instance, if we wanted this keyboard sensor to move our character forward, we would click this field, and now it says press a key, so we press the key that we want to use. So I'm going to press W. So now, whenever I press the W key in the game, this will set the sensor to positive and then trigger the controller. Next to key, we have an all keys option, and this means that any key on the keyboard will set the sensor to positive and trigger the controller. So you'll notice that if all keys is turned on, the key option is grayed out, and that's because since we told it that we want to use all of the keys on the keyboard, it no longer needs to know a specific key. Something else that is grayed out is first and second modifier, so we're going to unmark all keys. And the first modifier is a key that must be held while the main key is being pressed in order for the sensor to evaluate positive and trigger the controllers. So a common modifier key would maybe be shift, in this case left shift. So what this means is I have to press left shift and W in order to set the sensor to positive and trigger the controller. And the second modifier is exactly the same as the first. So a common second modifier might be control. So now this would mean that I have to push the W key, the left shift key, and the left control key for the sensor to go positive and trigger the controllers. Now below that we have log toggle and target, and these two both work together. So log toggle is a Boolean property that is telling the sensor whether or not it should log the key presses. And then the target is a string property, which is where the key log will be sent to. So for instance, I have two properties set up. You can see I have a Boolean property called toggle log here. I'm going to set that to true and turn on debug mode for both of my properties. I also have a string property called keylog, and that is an empty string right now. So on my sensor, I'm going to click the log toggle field, and I'm going to choose toggle log. That's my Boolean property. And then for target, I'm going to choose keylog, and that is my string property. So if I go and play the game, you can see up in the top left, toggle log is true and keylog equals nothing. But if I start pressing keys, you'll notice that the string starts filling up with all of the keys that I am pressing. So that might be useful if you're creating text fields or something like that. And then if we turn toggle log to false for the Boolean property, if we play our game, you'll notice that that property no longer updates with the text that we type. Okay, so there's a look at the sensor itself. So now we're going to jump into Python and look at some of the useful attributes for it there. Okay, so here we are in Python. First thing to note is that we are not only importing the logic module from BGE, but we are also importing the events module. And the main reason we're importing the events module is for some of the events constants that you can see here, like left shift key, or A key, any of the key constants for it. So you can see we import the sensor the same as all of the others, and then we move into the configuration attributes. The first of these is key, and this is the same as just telling it which key the sensor is looking for in order to turn positive. And you can see here I am telling it that I want it to use the A key by using the events module and then getting the constant A key. Next we have hold 1, and this is the same as the modifier button. So in this case I'm setting it equal to left shift key. We then have hold 2, and this is the same as hold 1 again. It's just in this particular example I am setting that equal to a variable. So I am reading what the current hold 2 value is. So then we have use all keys, and you can again set or get this. So in this case I'm telling it to go true, which means it will use all keys. And next we have toggle property, and this is the same as using the log toggle on the sensor. We need to give it a string telling it which property to look at whenever it wants to know whether it should log the keystrokes or not. And next we have target property, and that is the same as the target on the sensor. So this is again just giving it a property that it can write the keystrokes to. This will either need a string or it will return a string. So moving on, we have status attributes. So first we have events, and this will return a list containing all of the events that have occurred during the last frame. So each event is a list containing the key code and the status. And the status is going to be an integer, or you can also use the logic constants. So logic.kx underscore sensor underscore just underscore activated will work as well. And as far as key code goes, you can also use the events constants. For instance, that would return events.akey. So next we have a function. This is getKeyStatus, and this will take a key code or an events constant, and it will return the key status. Again, the same as the logic constants. Alright, so that is a look at the keyboard sensor and what I think are the most useful Python attributes for it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. I'd be more than happy to try and help you out. If you'd like to suggest a future tutorial, there is a link in the description below. If you'd like to see all of the attributes that this sensor has, there is also a link in the description for that. Next time we are going to be looking at the message sensor, but until then, I want to thank you guys very much for watching, and have a nice day.